For a really long time, if you were part of the world's ultra-wealthy, the game was pretty simple. You'd take your billions, hand them over to the giants of Wall Street, the Goldman Sachses, the Morgan Stanleys, and just let their giant machines do all the work. It was the standard, the prestigious, really it was the only real option. Well, that whole era, it's ending. There's this quiet revolution happening right now, deep in the shadows of the global economy. The wealthiest people in the world are, one by one, firing their old-school bankers, yanking their fortunes out of the public markets, and taking back control. So if this massive river of cash isn't flowing to Wall Street anymore, where in the world is it all going? That is the huge question we are going to unpack right now. Okay, let's get into it. The money isn't just, moving to a different bank. No. It's being funneled into these incredibly private investment fortresses built from the ground up to serve the fortune of a single family. They're called family offices. Think of it like this. Instead of being one of thousands of clients at some massive bank, you decide to build your own private Goldman Sachs. Seriously, it's a dedicated team of elite investors, lawyers, accountants, and their only job, their entire reason for existing, is to manage, grow, and protect your family's money. They don't have clients. They serve a principle. Now, these things basically come in two main flavors. First, you have the single family office, or SFO. That's the ultimate power move for someone like a Bill Gates or Jeff Bezos. But to even make one of those viable, you need at least $250 million. Yeah, $250 million. For the folks with a little less, there are multifamily offices, or MFOs, where a few families team up to pull their money and share the costs. And this is where the story gets absolutely wild. We're talking about the truly mind-blowing scale of this parallel financial universe, one that operates almost completely in secret. First off, let's just talk about how many of them there are. It's tough to get an exact count, right, because they're so private, but the best guess right now, there are more than 10,000 of these firms operating around the world. And the amount of money they control, brace yourself for this one, the high-end estimate from people who track this stuff puts it at an astronomical $10 trillion. That is a 10 with 12 zeros after it. Just an incredible amount of capital. And to put that number into perspective, think about the entire global hedge fund industry. All those famous names you hear about all the time, they manage around $4 trillion. The family office world is more than double that size. So you're probably asking, how does an industry this massive stay so hidden? Well, it's actually pretty simple. Because they're managing a single family's private money, they often get to sidestep all those strict regulations and reporting rules that govern banks and investment funds. They can move billions of dollars, buy whole companies, and completely reshape markets with almost zero public disclosure. Which, of course, brings up the obvious question, why? Why go through all of this trouble? And the answer is about way more than just saving a few bucks on fees. It's about a fundamental strategic shift in power and control. It really all boils down to three huge strategic advantages. First, something called permanent capital. A normal fund has to return money to its investors every 5 or 10 years. A family office? They have an infinite timeline. They can hold an investment for 100 years if they want to. Second, direct investing. Why would you pay a private equity for massive fees when you can just hire your own all-star team to go out and buy companies directly? You cut out the middleman. And finally, total discretion. It's a fortress of privacy in an age where everything in finance is becoming more and more transparent. But look, this isn't just some abstract story about the 0.001%. This quiet revolution is having huge real-world consequences for the technology we use, the real estate in our cities, and the entire financial industry that you and I interact with every single day. I mean, their influence is popping up everywhere. In Silicon Valley, family offices are now the dominant players in venture capital, writing the first and biggest checks for the next generation of AI and biotech. In real estate, they've become some of the largest landlords on the planet, buying up everything from city skyscrapers to vast stretches of farmland. And they're winning the talent war, poaching the absolute brightest minds from Wall Street with better pay and a lot more control. This incredible concentration of unregulated power brings up a deeply unsettling question. If they're this big, this powerful, and this interconnected, what happens when one of them fails? And that's not just a hypothetical. That question brings us to the real risk that's lurking in the shadows. We have already had one massive warning sign that showed us just how fragile this new system can be. That warning was the dramatic, spectacular collapse of Archico's capital management, a massive family office that almost nobody had even heard of until the moment it completely imploded. Through a whole series of incredibly high-risk bets, all hidden from regulators, this one single firm managed to lose an unbelievable $20 billion. And here's the truly terrifying part: it all happened in just 2 days. The collapse was so fast and so violent that it sent shockwaves through the entire global financial system. It inflicted multi-billion-dollar losses on huge banks like Credit Suisse and Nomura. It was a frightening glimpse of the systemic risk that's building up right under the surface. So, what's the ultimate takeaway from all of this huge shift in global power? Well, the source material we've been looking at puts it perfectly. This isn't about the death of Wall Street. It's about a hostile takeover. The old kings have been dethroned. And that leaves us with the final critical question. This revolution has created a new class of financial royalty, kings who answer only to their own family name. As their private empires grow larger and more powerful, who, if anyone, is going to hold them accountable?